Welcome back, fiends, and strap yourself in, crank that stereo to 11, because tonight on Midnight Chamber, Shadow Reichenstein's It's Monster Rock. Okay, so it's Monster Rock. Shadow Reichenstein, Dallas, Texas. What a great band. What a really, really niche-y band. Honestly, I don't think a lot of modern horror rock fans know about Shadow Reichenstein. It was like Shadow was writing music and recording it as early as the early '90s. He really made a big push late '90s, early 2000s. Well, honestly, my first introduction to this band was when Blitzkid signed to Antidote Records. When they signed to Antidote Records, Sin Lamas, the owner of that record label, put up an old school message board. Yeah, it wasn't old school at the time. It was what we did. Nowadays, BBSs they're still around. They're still quite heavily used. They're just not as popular, I guess would be the right word, in the social media realms. But Shadow Reichenstein was supposed to put out an album on Antidote Records, and they had a board on the Antidote Records message board. There were a whole slew of bands that were involved in that way. Calabrese was originally supposed to put their first record out on Antidote Records, and we see how that turned out. It didn't. But Shadow Reichenstein is what we're talking about now. We'll get to Calabrese later. And with Shadow Reichenstein, Shadow, the lead singer, had originally put out It's Monster Rock on by himself, and this was released in 2001. I bought this. I remember emailing Shadow and sending him money with it wasn't even it was a I didn't send him cash. I sent him a money order. That was what it was. I sent him a money order for like $20, and he sent me this and a T-shirt, and I still have the T-shirt. But I mean, this it's not on any record label. It just says ShadowReichenstein.com. The CD is pressed on an old school computer style CD printer, and the booklet just has artwork, or the artwork on the outside, and lyrics for the songs that do have lyrics. And it's got the P.O. box and whatnot. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the bass player of this band, Chili, I can't remember his actual name, but the bass player who played on this record left to join Damage Plan with Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul, and he left Shadow Reichenstein to do Damage Plan, and then of course we know what happened just after that. Dimebag got shot here in Ohio. Great. But I digress. So, this, 2001, the original release of Shadow Reichenstein's It's Monster Rock. So, we've got that absolute masterpiece of horror rock. I mean, it's like if you crossed the Ventures, the Animals, the Plasmatics, and just blended that up, and then just dash on 60s pop culture horror stuff like the Munsters, and stick Bela Lugosi in front of the microphone. that is exactly what this sounds like. It's very surfy. It's really, really. For being a modern horror rock record, it's a very nice. It's got a very '60s flavor to it, but with that '80s kind of aggressive nature to it. I mean, if you think of like '80s punk kind of vibe, punk in like the, I guess, less extreme metal, kind of that aggression goes into this, but with surf rock and strained, like very, very gothy keyboards. It's really cool. Cemetery Surfing, Black Car, Dracula Built My Hot Rod, fantastic tune. Lunacy is a great song. And then, of course, the final track on this is Fear of the Rising Sun, which is a slight modification on the Animals' big hit House of the Rising Sun. Really good kind of change up to all that. So we fast forward a few years, and these guys didn't really get up to play in Ohio. And I'll cover the history of the Ohio horror rock scene at later times. We don't need to get into that with just talking about Shadow Reichenstein's first record here, but they didn't really get up this way, so I never got to see these guys live. And supposedly they're working on a third record, but that's neither here nor there. A few years after that, Blitzkid and just a plethora of other bands signed to Fiend Force Records out of Germany. Germany was really cranking everything up. We were getting a lot of good merchandise and tunes from Germany, from there to here. But we didn't get a lot of the German bands didn't come over here and tour. I mean, the U.S. is a tough nut to crack, and it's really hard to make any money for a band touring over here. I'm surprised half the bands that have done it, especially in niche genres like this, have done it at all. But at one point, they signed Shadow Reichenstein, which I never ever thought was going to happen. They did that. They put out Shadow Reichenstein's second record, Werewolf Order, and then, I'll be damned, they didn't put out vinyl. Fucking vinyl. Okay, at that point, we were just starting to get, maybe '04 was when some of the first, of this early 2000s wave of horror rock, spook rock. That was when we started getting that first wave of vinyl from bands. Like Fiend Force was a big spearhead in this. I mean, they put out 7 inches, and then they started pressing full length. They started pressing full lengths for these bands, and we got Blitzkid vinyl for Trace of a Stranger. Never thought that would happen, and then lo and behold, we get Shadow Reichenstein vinyl. I really thought that was never going to happen, seeming that when I bought the record, I was emailing Shadow himself, and he was just sending me stuff from his house to my house. No distribution, no nothing. And what we got was, in 2007, maybe a year after Werewolf Order came out, we got a reissue of It's Monster Rock. I do not have the Fiend Force CD issue of It's Monster Rock because I already have the record on CD. But I did pick up the vinyl, which is, minus the logos for the label itself for Fiend Force Records and the Horror Punk and More Fiend Club, and it was distributed by Cargo Records, Cargo Distribution. It's picture perfect from the CD.
Alright, here's a better view of the actual releases. But don't worry, my lighting problems are being solved as we speak. This should be really some of the last makeups I have to do. But anyway, this is the Fiend Force 12-inch release of It's Monster Rock. Shadow always had great packaging, very spooky. Here's a good shot of the band. You'll note the original bass player who went on to be in Damage Plan with Dimebag Darrell. And with this, you got a really nice printed sleeve. With the lyrics on the back side. Notice there. Pretty neat. We get the actual record. I always thought that logo was so cool. Fiend Force record logo. And then we have got the original CD version. No Fiend Force logo at the bottom. Just basic. If you look at the CD, I mean, it looks... It definitely has that look of one that was printed off on one of those home printers you could buy. Get some lyrics. Pretty much just lyrics on the inside. Same cover as the LP.
It definitely looks a bit more professional, but it's pretty cool. And with it, we got this sweet white vinyl. Big Fiend Force logo right there, and then the Shadow Reichenstein center cap right there. Pretty cool. And the sleeve is really nice. So it's got a nice picture of Shadow sitting at his house in his very, very gothic house with his guitar. Pretty cool. And then the other side's pretty neat. It's got the lyrics. Now, funny, I just noticed it has what looks like a small ad down here for the Bella Was a Junkie EP. When I bought my album here, I bought the Bella Is a Junkie EP. This was never officially pressed. It just has a random like little thing down here for the Bella Was a Junkie EP, which I actually have, but it was never officially pressed. It's like it's on a CDR that I got straight from Shadow. So I have no idea. That's really cool that that's on there. But I mean, it's simplistic packaging, but it's really it's clean. It's nice. The vinyl itself looks really cool. It sounds great. I mean, what is more to love than when, you know, a record you absolutely love just sounds really cool on wax. I fully feel that this band is truly underrated. I mean, Nuke and the Living Dead is the same way. Shadow Reichenstein and Nuke and the Living Dead both were extremely unique in the horror scene, but both have that punk rock aggression, which we know and love. Which Shadow Reichenstein kind of traded the punk aggression in for more of a Motorhead kind of vibe in the second record, but we'll get to the second record at a later date. This one's really, really cool, though. You can still pick the records up from Discogs or, random stores in Germany for a decent price. I mean, $30, $35 maybe. It might hike in price as the years go on because it'll get bought by other people who really, discover the band and love it. 'Cause as far as I know, there's not going to be any reissues. But that being said, if Shadow finally crawls out of his hole in Dallas and they actually put that third record out, they might reissue everything and we might get a whole blast of new merchandise. That would be really cool. I would love to see them do like a couple micro tours over here because there's a lot of the states that never got any Shadow. I mean, they pretty much stuck to the West Coast and then went straight to Europe. So, yeah, that is Shadow Reichenstein. It's Monster Rock. Really cool record. I mean, if you like something that feels like you could listen to riding around in the Munsters car, and just cruising and looking all morbid and cool, this is definitely the album for you. I mean, Shadow sounds literally like Dracula 31 behind the microphone. I could not fathom the way he sounded. It was the coolest crap I've ever heard. Especially when I got that. I think I picked this record up when I was 20. Maybe 21. I think I was 21. And it blew me away. So, yeah. If you can find it, pick it up. And in the meantime, tune in again for another episode of the Midnight Chamber.